Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next thrilling and exciting and inimitable and ebullient, uh, tyrannical, exculpatory, uh, wondrous episode of the Reading Cow from Another World with Bedtime Stories thing that this is, where we are bringing you the history of the world according to Louis Ginsberg, the legends of the Jews, Chapter 5. So, without further ado, we begin. In this section, we're going to cover Abraham, the wicked generations, the birth of Abraham, the babe proclaims God, Abraham's first appearance in public, the preacher of the true faith, in the fiery furnace. That's when he was in the furnace, guys. Abraham, his immigration to Haran, the star in the east, the true believer, the iconoclast, Abraham in Canaan, his sojourn in Egypt, the first Pharaoh, the War of the Kings, the Covenant of Pieces, the birth of Ishmael, the visit of the angels, the cities of sin. Abraham pleads for the sinners. He's pleading for them. The destruction of the sinful cities among the Philistines, the birth of Isaac, Ishmael cast off the two wives of Ishmael, the covenant with Abimelech. Satan accuses Abraham, the journey to Moriah, the Akedah, the death and burial of Sarah, Eliezer's mission, the wooing of Rebekah, the last years of Abraham, a herald of death. Abraham views the earth and heaven, and the patron of Hebron. Abraham, the wicked generations. 10 generations there were from Noah to Abraham, to show how great is the clemency of God. For all the generations provoked his wrath, until Abraham our father came and received the reward of all of them. For the sake of Abraham, God had shown himself long suffering and patient during the lives of these 10 generations. Yea, more, the world itself had been created for the sake of his merits. His advent had been made manifest to his ancestor Reu, who uttered the following prophecy at the birth of his son Serug. From this child shall be born in the fourth generation that shall set his dwelling over the highest, and he shall be called perfect and spotless, and shall be the father of nations, and his covenant shall not be dissolved, and his seed shall be multiplied forever. It was indeed high time that the friend of God should make his appearance upon earth. The descendants of Noah were sinking from depravity to lower and lower depths of depravity. They were beginning to quarrel and slay, eat blood, build fortified cities and walls and towers, and set one man over the whole nation as king, and wage wars, people against people, and nations against nations, and cities against cities, and do all manner of evil, and acquire weapons, and teach warfare unto their children. And they began also to take captives and sell them as slaves. And they made unto themselves molten images, which they worshipped, each one the idol he had molten for himself, which they worshipped, each one the idol he had molten for himself. For the evil spirits under their leader Mestema led them astray into sin and uncleanness. For this reason Reu called his son Serug, because all mankind had turned aside unto sin and transgression. When he grew into manhood, the name was seen to have been chosen fittingly, for he too worshipped idols. And when he himself had a son, Nahor by name, he taught him the arts of the Chaldees, how to be a soothsayer and practice magic according to the signs in the heavens. When in time a son was born to Nahor, Mastema sent ravens and other birds to despoil the earth and rob men of the proceeds of their work. As soon as they had uh, dropped the seed in the furrows, and before they could cover it over with earth, the birds picked it up from the surface of the ground. And Nahor called his son Terah, because the ravens and other birds plagued men, devoured their seed, and reduced them to destitution. The birth of Abraham. Terah married Imtetelai, the daughter of Carnabo, and the offspring of their union was Abraham. His birth had been read in the stars by Nimrod, for this impious king was a cunning astrologer, and it was manifest to him that a man would be born in his day who would rise up against him and triumphantly give the lie to his religion. In his terror at the fate foretold him in the stars, he sent for his princes and governors and asked them to advise him in the matter. They answered and said, "Our unanimous advice is that thou shouldst build a great house, station a guard at the entrance thereof, and make known in the whole of thy realm that all pregnant women shall repair thither together with their midwives, who are to remain with them when they are delivered. When the days of a woman to be delivered are fulfilled and the child is born, it shall be the duty of the midwife to kill it if it be a boy. But if the child be a girl, it shall be kept alive, and the mother shall receive gifts and costly garments. And a herald shall proclaim, Thus is done unto the woman who bears a daughter." The king was pleased with this counsel, and he had proclamation published throughout his whole kingdom, summoning all the architects to build a great house for him, 60 ells high and 80 wide. After it was completed, he issued a second proclamation, summoning all pregnant women thither, and there they were to remain until their confinement. Officers were appointed to take the women to the house, and guards were stationed in it and about it to prevent the women from escaping thence. He furthermore sent midwives to the house and commanded them to slay the men children at their mother's breast. But if a woman bore a girl, she was to be arrayed in byssus silk and embroidered garments, and led forth from the house of detention amid great honors. No less than 70,000 children were slaughtered thus. Then the angels appeared before God and spoke. "Seest thou not what he doth, yon sinner and blasphemer, Nimrod, son of Canaan, who slays so many innocent babes that have done no harm?" God answered and said, "Ye holy angels, I know it and I see it, for I neither slumber nor sleep. I behold and I know the secret things and the things that are revealed, and ye shall witness what I will do unto the sinner and blasphemer, for I will turn my hand against him to chastise him." It was about this time that Terah espoused the mother of Abraham, and she was with child. When her body grew large, at the end of 3 months of pregnancy, and her countenance became pale, Terah said unto her, "What ails thee, my wife? What that thy countenance is so pale and thy body so swollen?" She answered and said, "Every year I suffer with this malady." But Terah would not be put off thus. He insisted, "Show me thy body. It seems to me thou art big with child. If that be so, it behooves us not to violate the command of our God, Nimrod." When he passed his hand over her body, there happened a miracle. The child rose until it lay beneath her breasts, and Terah could feel nothing with his hands. He said to his wife, "Thou didst speak truly," and naught became visible until the day of her delivery. When her time approached, she left the city in great terror and wandered toward the desert, walking along the edge of a valley until she happened across a cave. She entered this refuge, and on the next day she was seized with throes, and she gave birth to a son. The whole cave was filled with the light of the child's countenance as with the splendor of the sun, and the mother rejoiced exceedingly, and the babe she bore was our father Abraham. His mother lamented and said to her son, "Alas that I bore thee at a time when Nimrod is king. For thy sake 70,000 men children were slaughtered, and I am seized with terror on account of thee, that he hear of thy existence, and slay thee. Better thou shouldst perish here in this cave, than my eyes should behold thee dead at my breast." She took the garment in which she was clothed, and wrapped it about the boy. Then she abandoned him in the cave, saying, "May the Lord be with thee. May he not fail thee, nor forsake thee." The babe proclaims God. Thus Abraham was deserted in the cave without a nurse, and he began to wail. God sent Gabriel down to give him milk to drink, and the angel made it flow from the little finger of the baby's right hand, and he sucked at it until he was 10 days old. Then he arose and walked about, and he left the cave and went along the edge of the valley. When the sun sank and the stars came forth, he said, "These are the gods." But the dawn came, and the stars could be seen no longer. And then he said, "I will not pay worship to these, for they are no gods." Thereupon the sun came forth, and he spoke, "This is my God. Him will I extol." But again the sun set, and he said, "He is no God." And beholding the moon, he called her his God, to whom he would pay his divine homage. Then the moon was obscured, and he cried out, "This too is no God. There is one who sets them all in motion." He was still communing with himself when the angel Gabriel approached him and met him with the greeting, "Peace be with thee." And Abraham returned, "With thee be peace," and asked, "Who art thou?" And Gabriel answered and said, "I am the angel Gabriel, the messenger of God." And he led Abraham to a spring of water nearby, and Abraham washed his face and his hands and feet, and he prayed to God, bowing down and prostrating himself in a prostration. Meantime, the mother of Abraham thought of him in sorrow and tears, and she went forth from the city to seek him in the cave which she had abandoned him. Not finding her son, she wept bitterly and said, "Woe unto me that I bore thee, but to become a prey of wild beasts, the bears and the lions and the wolves." She went to the edge of the valley, and there she found her son. But she did not recognize him, for he had grown very large. She addressed the lad, "Peace be with thee," and he returned, "With thee be peace." And he continued, "Unto what purpose didst thou come to the desert?" She replied, "I went forth from the city to seek my son." Abraham questioned further, "Who brought thy son hither?" And the mother replied thereto, "I had become pregnant from my husband Terah, and when the days of my delivery were fulfilled, I was in anxiety about my son in my womb, lest our king come, the son of Canaan, and slay him as he had slain 70,000 other men, children. Scarcely had I reached the cave in this valley when the throes of travail seized me, and I bore a son whom I left behind in the cave, and I went home again. Now I am come to seek him, but I find him not." Abraham then spoke, "As to this child thou tellest of, how old was it?" The mother said, "It was about 20 days old." Abraham, "Is there a woman in the world who would forsake her newborn son in the desert and come to seek him after 20 days? Oi, oi, oi." The mother, "Peradventure God will show himself a merciful God." Abraham, "I am the son whom thou hast come to seek in this valley." The mother, "My son, how thou art grown, but 20 days old, and thou canst already walk and talk with thy mouth." Abraham, "So it is. And thus, O my mother, it is made known unto thee that there is in the world a great and terrible, living and ever existing God, who doth see, but who cannot be seen. He is in the heavens above, and the whole earth is full of his glory." The mother, "My son, is there a God beside Nimrod?" Abraham, "Yes, mother, the God of the heavens and the God of the earth. He is also the God of Nimrod, the son of Canaan. Go therefore and carry this message unto Nimrod." That'll show him. The mother of Abraham returned to the city and told her husband, Terah, how she had found their son. Uh, Terah, who was a prince and the magnate in the house of the king, betook himself to the royal palace and cast himself down before the king upon his face. It was the rule that one who prostrated himself before the king was not permitted to lift up his head until the king bade him lift it up. Nimrod gave permission to Terah to rise and state his request. Thereupon Terah related all that had happened with his wife and his son. When Nimrod heard this tale, abject fear seized upon him, and he asked his counselors and princes what to do with the lad. They answered, "Our king and God, wherefore art thou in fear by reason of a little child? There are myriads upon myriads of princes in thy realm, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens, and overseers without number. Let the pettiest of the princes go and fetch the boy and put him in prison." But the king interposed, "Have you ever seen a baby of 20 days walking with his feet, speaking with his mouth, and proclaiming with his tongue that there is a God in heaven who is one, and none beside him, who sees and is not seen?" All the assembled princes were horror struck at these words. At this time, Satan in human form appeared, clad in black silk garb, and he cast himself down before the king. Nimrod said, "Raise thy head and state thy request." Satan asked the king, "Why art thou terrified, and why are ye all in fear on account of a little lad? I will counsel thee what thou shalt do. Open thy arsenal and give weapons to put unto all the princes, chiefs, governors, and unto all the warriors, and send them to fetch him unto thy service, and to be under thy dominion. This advice given by Satan, the king accepted and followed. He sent a great armed host to bring Abraham to him. When the boy saw the army approach him, he was sore afraid, and amid tears he implored God for help. In answer to his prayer, God sent the angel Gabriel to him, and he said, "Be not afraid and disquieted, for God is with thee. He will rescue thee out of the hands of all thine adversaries." God commanded Gabriel to put thick, dark clouds between Abraham and his assailants. Dismayed by the heavy clouds, they fled, returning to Nimrod their king. And they said to him, "Let us depart and leave this realm." And the king gave money unto all his princes and his servants, and together with the king they departed and journeyed to Babylon. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of this next thrilling and exciting, inimitable episode of the Reading Cow from Another World with Bedtime Stories show that this is. Join us again next time for the next installment of the chapter of the section of Louis Ginsberg's Legends of the Jews and the story of the world and the universe and everything and how it happened. And by the way, folks, we're almost to the end of volume one. So we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, goodbye.